Critical. Mark Meredith in Iowa for us live. Thank you very much, Mark. We are back now with our panel. And I do want to skip ahead to some polling that we have out of New Hampshire because, listen, that's a very different look than what we have in the polling in Iowa. In New Hampshire, brand new Washington Post Monmouth poll has Trump at a commanding 46%. But Haley has moved into double digits here, now 18%, surging into second place, followed by Kristi Ramaswamy. DeSantis now in fifth. I mean, Josh, is he putting all of his eggs in the Iowa basket, hoping if he gets within striking distance or pulls off something there against Trump, it will boost him then 8 days later?
Well, look, Shannon, it's not about the national numbers. It's about the state-by-state numbers. And you can actually see a glimmer of a path for both DeSantis and Haley. DeSantis needs to do really well in Iowa. He can't just do second place. He's got to be right on Trump's heels and show that Trump is maybe not quite as strong as he's imagined to be, and then parlay that into successes beyond the Iowa caucuses, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. I think Haley actually has the more clear path as an upset special because she's doing really well in New Hampshire. It's a moderate electorate, and those Chris Christie votes, you know, if he drops out before New Hampshire, I'm not sure if he will.
I don't think he will. But
those votes are much more predisposed to Nikki Haley. So when you add up Haley and you add up Christie, that's actually not that far away from where Trump is. So look, she's South Carolina as her home state. So she has an opportunity to have a parlay of New Hampshire and South Carolina, do decently in Iowa, and that's the path for an upset. But Trump is in commanding position. You know, he's at over 60% in the Fox poll. He is the clear favorite for the nomination.
Okay, now whoever ends up being the nominee for the GOP, they're going to have some material to work with that this White House is going to really struggle with. Another one of our Fox News polls looking at the economy. Do you see any signs the economy has started to turn the corner and the worst is over? 67%. Tiffany say no. So people looking ahead, 2/3 of the American electorate, this is across party lines, think the economy is not in good shape for them.
No, that's right. And that's what we found in our survey as well. Majority of people believe that, you know, big government and all of this infighting is what is wrong with our country. They want solutions to the economy. And I'm sorry, Bidenomics is not cutting it, because you go talk to any average person who's buying eggs or milk or trying to put gas in their car. Families are struggling out in the real America today. And it's really unfortunate because it doesn't have to be that way. You know, when I think of politics, too, and of course, the voters will choose our nominee. I am excited also, and I think we can't overlook this, but Republicans have an opportunity to take back the Senate and win back House seats as well in 2024. And I'm excited with Endeavor PAC, focusing my efforts on campaigns that are down ticket. I recently endorsed Tim Sheehy running for U.S. Senate in Montana, Leslie Llewellyn running for Washington's 3rd Congressional District. I think this is a real opportunity for us as Republicans to talk about the solutions, get good candidates across the line, and make a difference in this country.
Well, and it's not just the economy that'll be out there at the center of this campaign, all these campaigns, because it clearly will be.
Yes.
When you look at President Biden's approval numbers on any number of issues, we've got this poll that shows national security, the Israel war, guns, immigration, the economy, inflation. He is upside down by substantial margins. When you look at inflation, it's a 40-point deficit for him, Juan. And he's out there touting Bidenomics.
You know, I mean, there's a certain reality, which is that both Biden and potentially former President Trump, if he's the nominee, are going to spend billions between now, November of 23, and the election in November of 24. So voters are going to have a chance to make a judgment. But the Biden team hasn't started making their case. And I was listening to Tiffany.
Wait. Not making their case. He's talking about Bidenomics all the time.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, I think you've got to say to people, and I think there's a case to be made, Shannon. Look at inflation. Look at the reports. We've had 2 recent reports. Inflation is coming down. You look at jobs. We have, Chris Coons said to you, we have record low jobs. You look at the stock market. Stock market's doing fine. You look at Thanksgiving holiday, the travel. People are traveling in record numbers, spending money. Consumer spending has been up. So all of these are positive indicators. That's the case to be made for Joe Biden. The question is, when does he make that case effectively in the terms of the messaging so that people hear it? Or is it the case that it goes south? You've got Ukraine, you've got China, you've got Taiwan, you got obviously the Middle East. This is a lot to be that's kind of, you know, up in the air like an X factor as we go into a very unpredictable election year.
Well, but Carl, we know it's about the economy, stupid, that someone on the other side of the aisle from you said decades ago. But I mean, that's what people report is their number one concern is buying groceries.
I feel so much better now that Juan has told me what the reality is. Look, there is a reality, and the reality is this. that in the last several years, the cost of living has gone up a cumulative 18%, and median household income has dropped 3%, which means there's a 21% delta. What people were able to buy 3 years ago, it now costs them about 20% more given the change in both prices and wages. And they're having to adjust to that. And it's not going to happen overnight. The White House can go out and say inflation is dropping, but people say, you created it with all that needless spending. They say, you created we've got all these new jobs. They say, no, we got our jobs back. And the fact of the matter is that there's one underlying dynamic that makes their arguments on the economy impossible to sell to the American people, and that is the American people look at them and say, you're too old, you lack the mental acuity and stamina to be president of the United States, and we want to change.
Yeah, well, what about coronavirus? Do you think people remember, oh, gee, where were we when this man came into office? Hasn't he saved so many jobs? Hasn't he rebuilt this economy?
As I remember, it was the guy before him who got us the vaccine to save people's lives.
I'm just telling you.
And you know what? Biden would be in a better place today had he started out acknowledging that his predecessor had done that. It would have created a better climate of opinion and reduced some of the animosity and antagonism that's in our political system. But we're polarized, and if you think this president is well positioned to win, you and Joe Biden are probably the only people in America who think that.
Well, and the polling shows that even within the Democratic Party, that his own party has the great concerns. We talked earlier about
of Democrats
think that he's too old, and 74% of independents don't think that he's well enough and vital enough to go ahead with another term. And you heard us talking earlier about David Axelrod, a big Democratic voice out there saying 50-50 at best, but probably worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, to Juan's point, there are some stories that Biden can't tell. He's going to be 81 years old this week. He has not been able to drive a message. He can't use any of the sound bites from his speeches because that is a real challenge. The White House is privately worried that this is a campaign that's going to be from the Rose Garden, not from the campaign trail. So that is the big challenge. There are some stories that the White House can be talking about inflation being contained, about unemployment being low, but that's not reaching out to the country. They don't feel like it's more than an America.
I think once you get to Biden versus Trump, a polarizing figure on so many issues, you think about, all the indictments, the 4
but
cases
what do you make
against
of the head-to-head
him.
polling?
Well, I'm saying right now, and this goes back to what we were just saying, there are a lot of Democrats who are discontented with Joe Biden right now. Mm-hmm. But then if you say, oh, it's you, Joe Biden, or Donald Trump,
but that's what I'm saying.
Abortion,
head-to-head.
which drove the last election we just saw here in 23. Oh, it's Joe, it's Donald Trump, abortion, it's race, it's immigration, and creating all sorts of new sanctions against people protesting.
The president is upside down on issues like immigration, like the border.
Yes, that's right. But I say put him against Trump.
Okay, do you think the head-to-head polls right now aren't accurate? Because they almost all of them show President Biden losing.
If you ask black voters right now, I think the Trump people will tell you there's a record number of black voters who support Trump, Hispanics, right? Independent voters. What I'm saying to you is right now,
you think they come home to the Democratic Party for the vote next year?
All being Democrat, and Karl Rove sitting here a pro. They will fade and go right back to the Democrats.
Look.
You think they come back?
They're planning on the Obama versus Romney strategy, and that's not going to work because we trusted Obama as being a strong, effective leader who was up to the job. Take a look at Virginia in the election.